notification because then the angry Michigan fans will get him. Otherwise, we have decided to upgrade from Sheehan this episode with a few dignitaries from MSU Twitter. One of them who probably has even more of a security detail necessary right outside our studios today. And the other who just everyone likes, who has no enemies. And I guess without further ado, I will introduce the legends themselves. The MSU Chief of Propaganda for the first time in studio.
Yes, sir.
And Peach James.
Hello, hello.
How you guys doing today?
Good, man. Looking forward to it.
I'm thriving. I'm excited to be here. Like you said, we got the Secret Service outside, but yeah, we're fired up for the show.
So it's great to get finally Chief in studio revealing himself to the public.
Yep. I've had many people say that I would never do it, never reveal my face, but here we are, here in the flesh, so I'm pumped up about this.
So, Peach, how are you doing today? I know you watch the show all the time.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be on here today?
Good, man. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah, this show is a big part of me, part of what I do every single night. So, yeah, I love it, man. I love catching up. Yeah, 100% talking about sports with my guys.
Right. Yeah, definitely. So, for those of you that don't know, which I guess shame on you, but these two guys, they're fixtures on MSU Twitter. The Chief of Propaganda, ever since I got on, I guess since I got into reporting about Michigan State, he's been there. He's been a mainstay the whole time. Peach as well for that whole time, maybe even longer. So to have like these guys kind of following my content, supporting my content is definitely a big part of what makes it fun and what makes it enjoyable. And these guys, they know ball. They follow recruiting as well as anyone. So we figure we can have some good conversations today about Michigan State football and basketball. And I guess first off, I want to ask you guys, how did you kind of get into the platforms that you have right now? Was it just like random tweeting? Was it like concentrated efforts? Like, I guess, Brett, you can start and then we'll go to Peach. Like, how did you guys get to this point of, I guess, your visibility of your platform?
Yeah, so I mean, my Twitter account was really formed for one reason, and that was to follow Kanye West for the Life of Pablo reveal back in 2016. So that's really the only reason I have a Twitter, was for that purpose. And then once the pandemic hit, I pivoted a little bit and just started tweeting about Michigan State, and ever since then it's kind of become something that is what it is today, and it's fun. So I would say it's a true blessing to be able to wake up every day and go on Twitter and just irritate the people I dislike the most, which is the school down the road. I appreciate all of you who are always messaging me, saying crazy stuff, replying to my tweets. Trust me, it warms my heart that you don't like me.
Yeah. For me, man, honestly, it was like from when I first got on Twitter, probably like 2008, 2009, like early Twitter days. Yeah. And I would just like give my thoughts watching a game of like Russell Bird make a shot, you know?
I see.
You know, go get a rebound. And it was just basic shit posting. Now it's like kind of coming to this whole thing where it's got its own audience, right? It's got its own kind of collective like us. And I'm just excited. I'm excited for where it's going to be 5 years from now, even that.
Yeah, because MSU Twitter, it's not like a place that other people that are outside of it would really understand like how passionate it is. Because I see other reporters, other 24/7 reporters, they post for their fans, and they don't have a Chief of Propaganda and a Peach James retweeting or even just interested in the content, let alone creating excitement for the fan base themselves, and makes a huge difference. And just the fan base as a whole. I mean, there's tons of people that we could have had up here representing the MSU Twitter contingent, but just the amount of people that are passionate about MSU sports on Twitter, it's sort of unprecedented. I think you can see the growth numbers that some of these companies put out there of Michigan State's now in like that top 5 range for social media impressions. And Michigan State's even higher than that if you go just by Twitter. Some other schools are have an advantage in Facebook and stuff, but recruiting and stuff like that, it's just been a huge mainstay in that. Brett, what have your experiences been with, I guess, just the way recruits have embraced your social media identity?
Yeah, it's been a little interesting. I remember the first time I got started with the recruiting on Twitter. The center prospect, Michael Muslinski, who eventually, I think he committed to Texas, then he flipped to Iowa.
Right.
But that's really when it all started. We'd get like edits of the guy saying, hey, let's try to hype this guy up a little bit. Like it would be different accounts sending me stuff. And then we'd have a little bit of fun with that. You'd see the staff retweet it. It's like, oh, this is pretty cool. And like I could tweet out like something really cool and it would get no attention. Then I'd tweet like this little edit out. and it would go crazy. And I only had like 100 followers back then. But yeah, since then, it's been really cool to kind of be able to talk to these recruits. They reach out to me, they ask me questions about the university, and it's been very humbling experience and something I don't take for granted. And yeah, it is a lot of fun. And I think all Michigan State Twitter really takes pride in being able to really truly dominate the space of Twitter and making sure we retweet the most, we like the most, because I mean, some people can't say anything about the 247 boards. There's some people on there that don't really appreciate kind of what goes on. But no, there is a true impact, and it factors into NIL, their recruiting decisions, their family feel comfortable sending a kid to a place where you have all these people showing unconditional love. So yeah, it's a true valuable position we're all in, and just thankful to be in that.
And Peach, what would you say, like, how much of a role has just this MSU Twitter community played in your just eagerness to follow recruiting in general? Like, were you always into recruiting, or did this kind of amplify the interest?
Not really, man. It made it more exciting, right? It made it more interesting for me to kind of keep up with these kids coming up, because we get, Brett would get tweets and get like, hey, this kid's coming up, he wants to go visit MSU,
right?
Let's go keep up with him. Let's hype him up, right? So this is, for me, is a lot more fun. It adds that extra layer onto recruiting. As like back in the day, I was somewhat interested in it. Like every time like a 4-star or 5-star would look at MSU, you get hyped up about it. But nowadays, it's like it's kind of more legit. It takes on its role, because we have, in a certain sense, like a role to play. Like if he wants, nowadays these kids, they really value that kind of clout. Getting that social media following. We've seen it with some kids that wanted to come to MSU. Not going to name names.
Yep.
That being said, I think it's still a huge part of it, right? And like these guys want to feel loved, and part of that, of coming to see MSU, getting the love from the fan base, and MSU Twitter is such a collective, such a tight-knit group. Like to see that is huge.
And what a lot of people don't get, like, obviously there's good and bad to everything, and Twitter has its downfalls too. So a lot of people choose to stay away from it. And if you are one of those people, I guess one of the things that I can use to explain to you how great of a tool that recruiting, or how great of a tool social media can be for recruiting, is the fact that when these kids, a lot of them who are from the West or from the South, and they don't really grow up around Michigan State fans, their first impression of the MSU fan base, or of even the whole university, is the reaction they get from Twitter the day they get their offers. So a lot of times I interview a kid, and I'd be like, so what is your current perception of Michigan State? Have you been a fan? Do you watch them or anything like that? And they would most likely say, no, don't really watch them, but the love that their fans showed when I posted my offer tweet, that really stood out to me. And when Michigan State's recruiting a kid in Arizona, that stands out. Like Michigan State, that's their first impression with them, and you have guys like these amplifying those voices. So, and then also when kids visit, they come into the visit with more of a higher impression of Michigan State because they've seen all this fan support. So that is stuff that kids directly tell me plays an impact in their perception of the university. Even though none of these guys work for the university, it really helps in recruiting. But I guess, is there anything else you guys want to add to this part of the segment, and then we can start diving into some actual MSU sports?
Yeah, I do want to give some credit to the actual MSU football staff, because they've kind of cultivated this culture where they want fans to be engaged with the program. They want us to keep chopping, be relentless, and I think that the fan base has kind of taken on that identity Coach Tucker brought here. And I think we have to give a ton of credit to them. Like Saeed Khalif, he's done a phenomenal job in the GM role. Obviously Coach Tucker, Darian Harris. I mean, I could list the whole staff. I'm not going to do it because we'll run out of time. But all those people are just fantastic.
The only thing I wanted to add is, like, you got kids from California, Arizona, these beautiful places, right? To come up to a Midwestern school and really kind of commit and lean into an MSU visit, it's going to take a little bit more than some of these Alabamas and these beautiful, like, UCLAs, USCs, right? You need that kind of extra effort from the fan base, right? To see that love. I think MSU Twitter kind of fills that hole.
Absolutely. There's a lot of kids that want to go to a UCLA or a USC, and then they see, hey, the fan support isn't really there. Then when you can amplify that difference and you can say, wow, and they really care about me at Michigan State. Meanwhile, the stadium's empty if I go to UCLA. That, like, obviously there's a Dante Moore every once in a while that he debunks the theory, but for every Dante Moore, there's a Sean Brown or a Jalen Barber, and that he's like, I'm leaving Pac-12 country to go play in the Big Ten because of that difference. So just well said there. But turning to the actual kind of sports at hand that you guys have built your platforms around, Michigan State football, they're in the off season, but as we know, there's not really an off season for football these days. So I guess I just want to open-ended kind of ask you guys, what are some of the main takeaways each of you have had from this offseason? So if you were to recap this offseason in a couple years, what would you say your takeaways were from what this offseason really was about?
Go ahead.
I would say really the first thing that came to my mind is how they closed the recruiting cycle.
Yep.
Obviously, when you only bring on, I think it was 16 kids in the class or whatever, it's not the number you particularly expected. And a lot of these kids, they landed in that final span there.
Right.
So I think being able to get like a Sam Levitt, that's huge. Like a Jalen Barber, that's massive. And you land all these guys, so I think that's just a testament to the...
Be all propaganda all the time, no pun intended. But at the same time, just think about what do you gain from having a certain content put out there, especially under a article that is about a kid. But
it's stupid.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. So speaking of this offseason, now that you've seen the talent come in at all these different position groups, over the next, let's say, 3 to 4 years, so it doesn't have to be next year. Over the next 3 to 4 years, which position group for each of you is the one you're most excited to, let's say, fast forward to and see what they're like 3 years from now?
3 years from now.
Okay, well, I think my answer is pretty easy. Actually, I'm going to give two. It's kind of a cop-out.
Yeah.
I think looking forward to this upcoming fall, being able to see Caton Hauser at the quarterback spot, I feel very – I don't know anything, obviously, but I feel very confident he's going to win. He's the most talented quarterback we've ever had at Michigan State. So I feel very confident that he's going to win that job. He's going to be here for probably start 2 years, go to the NFL, be a top 10 pick. And then I feel confident with Sam Levitt coming in.
Yeah.
And then hopefully Jake Merklinger after that. So I like that pipeline and seeing how we're going to continue to build, kind of like Ohio State does.
Yeah.
But I would say the defensive backs. I think that is the position that, because I know that the defensive line recruiting.
And we need it.
We need it bad.
Yep.
I mean, it's been unacceptable, kind of how the no-fly zone has become the free-fly zone. So but I think that the 24 class is really going to jumpstart kind of that ability to turn that back into a true weapon, because the D-line recruiting is elite.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been elite. So I think that the secondary is something we really need to step up.
Every great MSU football team started with a great defense and a great secondary. That is the blueprint for MSU teams. Got to get back there.
Yep.
Completely agree.
Yeah.
How about you?
I think so. My answer is more of a cop-out. I like what you said about choosing the secondary because there's a lot of unproven guys there.
Yeah.
So there's more suspense and more intrigue to see how it'll look in 3 years. For me personally, it's the defensive line, just because that I know, like, I don't know, but most likely that's going to be the most talented unit on this team 3 years from now. So to just see a team that immediately gets a push, you don't have to blitz. So you can drop 6, you can drop 7, you can have all the zones covered. To see that kind of a pass rush up front without blitzing, I think opens up the entire defense. Because, I mean, not to take it to the Eagles, because I feel like I do that once every episode, but the Eagles last year were 31st in the NFL in sacks. The Eagles this year were 4 sacks shy of the 85 Bears. All that changed was they added Hassan Reddick. So instead of having to blitz and leave all these holes all over, you just essentially now don't have to blitz. You got 4. You have a really good edge rusher, and then there's 7 guys out there covering. Really, you get a good pass rush. It opens up your entire defense.
Who trained Hassan Reddick?
Oh, the guy that is only doing it for IG clout.
That's
believe.
right.
Yeah,
it's clout.
Yeah. But yeah,
Can't develop guys, can he?
Yeah, just develops all pros in the NFL.
Yeah, interesting.
But he hasn't put anyone in the NFL in the 11 months he's been in college, so it doesn't count. But so yeah, I just think I'm really excited about the defensive line. Not only did they get a lot of great kids from the high school ranks that we've talked about endlessly, but you got a Tunmisi Adeleye from Texas A&M. I really like the hire with Duron Reynolds from Stanford.
Okay.
So I just really like where that room is going, because I think Duron Reynolds is an even better developer than he is a recruiter. Recruiting-wise, he was a little hamstrung at Stanford because it's hard to recruit there, obviously. But his development was pretty sound there. And you got BT Jordan getting these guys in the living room and talking to these guys, and Duron and Mel and these guys closing the deal. So really excited about that.
Quick tangent.
Yes.
For next year, what's the ceiling? Give me the ceiling. Like, looking at next year, what's a success for you?
A success
and then come to you too.
A success for me next year is Caton Hauser starting.
Okay.
Caton Hauser having a long leash.
Okay.
The receiver room having depth develop. We know what Trey Mose is. We know what Keon Coleman is. A Jerron Glover or a Tyrell Henry emerging into that playing group by the end of the season would be ideal. One of Isaiah Johnson and Jalen Smith showing signs.
Okay.
And we know that Cap got his guys now, Stanton Ramel, Cole Dellinger, Keyshawn Blackstock, and these guys coming in. I think that's going to take more than 1 year, so I'm not going to be grading the O-line much next year.
Okay.
Running backs also, like Jalen Berger, he's here for maybe 1 or 2 more years. Nathan Carter's upperclassman, not grading that too much.
Yeah.
But receiver depth and Katon Hauser getting the field instead of I think we've seen the extent of what Peyton Thorne is going to be able to do here for the most part. I think that a lot of what we saw this past season, it's probably not his best. I'm sure he can play a little better than that. But the question is, how much better?
Right. Where's the ceiling at?
Right, exactly. I think he's a better quarterback than people have made it seem the past few months. But I don't think he's to the point where you delay your next 3-year window by continuing to play. Now, if he straight up wins the job and it's not like a close coin flip, then you can't force it to be Caton's job. But ideally, that's kind of what I want to see. And then the defense just continuing to improve, a better pass rush, hopefully showing things up. But I'm really looking at the offense because they return a decent amount of production, more than the defense. So I got to see them play a little better than they did last year. Brett?
Win the Big Ten. It's simple as that. Like, I think the pieces are there. I think you improve the quarterback play. And, listen, I think Peyton Thorne, like Justin said, I think he's a much better quarterback than a lot of people make him out to be. And I'm sure sometimes I come off as saying he's not the best quarterback, but I truly believe he's a good quarterback. I just think his talent level is at a different level than a Katon Hauser or even like a Sam Levitt in 2 years, where I think it's time to move on to the younger guy and let's see what they do. I mean, if they go, let's say they go 9-3 with Katon Hauser, that's going to be a good year. I can't consider it a great success. But if they go 8-4 with Peyton Thorne, I don't consider that a good year. If they go 9-3 with Peyton Thorne, that's not a good year. You didn't develop a quarterback. But yeah, ultimately, it's time to start winning Big Ten championships and bring that back to East Lansing, and I think that they have the tools to do it. We saw 2 years ago they won 11-2, a couple plays Purdue away from going to the Big Ten championship. Obviously, we don't have a Kenneth Walker, but we've got some dudes, and listen, it's deep water time. We got to start winning football games.
Peach, what about you?
Successful season next year. I think a lot of things we already talked about, right? Developing the guys.
Yeah.
No, you know what the ceiling is with Peyton, right? Peyton's a great quarterback. He made some mistakes last year. We don't have to get into all that. But I think developing the guys. Number 2, I think transfer impact. I want to see more of that. I think we saw a couple guys come on last year, but we know Mel Tucker can identify talent in the transfer portal. I'd really like to see Nathan Carter kind of show up and give some meaningful plays to the team. Wins and losses. I mean, you have to improve last year. You have to improve on what it was last year. So 8-9 wins, I think, would be a great ceiling to kind of start with. And then we'll see how the rest of the offseason goes. But I think that's probably, for me, successful of, getting MSU back on track. Right.
Yeah, I think in terms of a win-loss perspective, I would say ending the regular season 7-5 with a chance to go 8-5 with Katon Hauser is what I would consider a success. Sure. If you're going with Peyton Thorne, then it has to be 8-4 at the end of the regular season, 9-3 after the full game. So I think that's kind of where I look at it with wins and losses. But it obviously depends how you lose some of those games. Yeah. If you give away a 17-point lead, but you're 10-2, then that leaves a bad taste in your mouth.
Special teams mistakes, gotta eliminate those. Yeah, I mean, we all saw it last year. We still have nightmares about it. I'm sure we do.
We were just talking about it.
We were just talking about it at dinner. We got hot and sweaty during it. Flashbacks to Vietnam. We have to be better on special teams. Do the little things, because those are the things that win you games.
Definitely. Yeah. So I guess to a topic that I don't know if it's necessarily more negative, but we don't know what to make of it right now, and that's Michigan State basketball. I think a lot of us 2 weeks ago would have had pretty much the same sort of take on it, or at least my take on it was, okay, yeah, right now they've lost a couple games they probably shouldn't have, like the Northwestern game and this game here, that game there, at Illinois. But for the most part, you knew it was like a 5-6 seed team, probably weren't going to hang a banner. They're in good shape. They're primed to make a run when you get to the big dance, and that's all it was, and you're at peace with it, and that's fine. Then they lost a couple more games. They did win last night against Maryland. What do you guys think about the Michigan State basketball season right now? What is your 1 to 2 sentence summary of your sentiment towards the basketball team at this point?
Typical Tom Izzo team.
Okay.
I think this team, the defense has been very, very good. I think the one thing that they do need to clean up, and I think most people agree, is rebounding. I think we've seen them allow too many offensive rebounds, and that's allowed some of these teams like Maryland yesterday to come back and really kill us against Illinois, obviously Purdue. I think Caleb First had about like 6 offensive rebounds. I mean, he's a machine.
Yep.
But you clean that up, and I think the offense is starting to come, like Jackson Kohler. That's Peach's
my guy. Shout out to Jackson.
Yeah. That's his dude. And, I mean, he's starting to really come on. Obviously, Joey Hauser, he can be streaky at times, but when he's on, I mean, he's really good. So I think it's just a typical tough Tom Izzo team. You have the elite guards, really 1 through 3 with Akins, Hogard, and then Tyson. So I think you've got enough pieces to really make a run here. And I was saying we need to finish the season here 6-2, and obviously losing the 1 game to Rutgers, but it's go time.
Yeah. Peach, what about you?
I mean, every single MSU Tom Izzo team for my whole life has had this February slide, like this late January, early February slide, where it's like 2 or 3 games lost, and then everybody thinks the sky is falling, right? I think we're in the middle of that right now. We found a way to win yesterday. Probably shouldn't have been that close, right? No. But that being said, like, these are the wins that you can kind of start to build on, right? And then Tom Izzo's all about peaking the team at the right time, and I think we're seeing that. Like, he will let guys go through this adversity because he knows adversity at the end of the day is what's going to make you a better player, right? So we're seeing that kind of quote-unquote Tom Izzo manufactured adversity, right? Where he lets these guys fail. He's going to let these funky lineups in and figure it out. Good luck, right? And they're gonna go through a spell of like 6 or 7 minutes of not scoring a basket, right? Or maybe 1 or 2 free throws. I think now you're just starting to see that kind of really start to build from last night. I think we make a run at it. Big Ten tourney, we'll see how seeding kind of goes. Right. I think this team will continue to, again, like every single team at Izzo's tenure, peaking at the right time in March.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's well stated by both of you. I think my thoughts on it are whatever's happened so far, like no harm done really. It's going to hurt them in their seeding a little bit. But like I said, I never thought this team would hang a regular season title banner. So it's really just splitting hairs as long as the drought ends immediately. That Maryland game had to be the start of the winning streak here. 6-2, like Brett said, is about good. Yeah. They need to go win at Ohio State at Value City Center, if that's what it's still called. They have to go ahead and win against that just absolute train wreck of a team.
Dog water.
Yep. Right. And Chris Holtman and.
They're sensible as a dog. You got to keep him in check. Right. You got to beat that team. You have to beat that team. Yeah. To get where you want to get.
And then at home against Minnesota, that's when the
COVID team.
The COVID Gophers. They need to beat those 2 teams. Yep. At Michigan now, Michigan seems to have turned it around a bit. Yep. And I know Juwan has found a way to struggle once again. Despite having now some are saying Kobe Buffkin should deserve to go in the first round, which I don't disagree with. Yep. Jet Howard, obviously, first round kind of guy. You have Hunter Dickinson, that's a multi-time All-American. You have those 3 fixtures to your team, and somehow you're struggling once again. And I think they've started to turn the corner a little bit. The question is it too late for them to turn that corner? We'll find out in March, I suppose, but that's not as easy of a win as it seemed like maybe a week or 2 ago. I think it's still winnable. I don't think I would hold it against them truly if they lose. I think they should win it, but I think that's how the next 3 games should go. It should go at worst 2-1, and I think they can rattle off some more wins. And if they do that, then whatever they did in early February, it doesn't really matter to me that much.
Completely agree.
Yeah, but we need to go into the silent library and destroy them. I don't want to hear about the podcaster. Jet Howard can hoop. Yeah. I think whether he returns or not, that's discussed for another day. But I mean, that roster, it stinks. Yeah. Like the coaching mismatch is huge. Marty's going to have Dickinson in the torture rack. It is what it is, and we're gonna beat them again.
I see. Yep. Yeah. I mean,
end their season.
I don't think they can stomach many more losses.
Yeah, maybe 1 or 2. Yeah. Yeah, they're in a rough spot. Right. Completely agree.
Yeah. It's going to be interesting there for sure. But any other thoughts on MSU basketball from you guys? I know the other topics, everyone's like talked to death. Recruiting really promising. Next year looking decent. Malik Hall comes back. You have a real good team. But I guess anything in the short term, I think we're all in the same place long term. No panic in terms of Izzo or the tenure or anything.
Yeah, I think last night was just huge. When like closing out that game, that was I don't want to use it, statement game. Not a program win. We're not going to be having no hats out there. Yeah. But I think being able to bounce back from the adversity of blowing a 15-point lead, that's something. This team is mentally tough.
Right. We've
seen it over and over again where they either come back or they blow a lead and they come back or whatever it may be. I think that this is going to be the start of a run. And if it's not our year. But we're going to see the next couple games, however many games are left in the regular season here, whether it's 5 or 6. You got to win 4 or 5 at the minimum.
Right.
That's the goal at Michigan State.
Sounds good.
I think the next 6 to 8 weeks for me, I want to see somebody take some leadership. I want to see Tyson Walker, AJ be a leader all the time. I think we've seen a couple flashes here and there. Problem is when he starts playing well, playing poorly, he starts to get in his own head a little bit, starts blaming others. I want to see somebody step up and be like, when this team needs a bucket, I'll get you one. Tyson has been that guy for the most part. Right? So I just want to see more of that 6 to 8 weeks of like really leaning in, like who's the guy? Who's the guy when you need that bucket? Get him the ball, get out the way.
And we've seen AJ do that in like the last 4 minutes, but I want to see AJ do that with 7 minutes left in the first quarter when you haven't had a bucket in 5 minutes.
Right.
So just more consistency from the guys that have done it, and maybe somebody else, like you're saying, also jump in. So great points right there. And I got to remind you, I forgot to do this earlier. If you're watching on YouTube, make sure to ask whatever questions you have in the comments. Owen will convey those to us at the end of the show.
Throw them in the chat. We're here.
Yeah. So death threats at Brett over there. Any questions, and we'll definitely get those answered at the end. But kind of shift into a little more fun topic before then we totally get towards some off-topic stuff.
Oh, boy.
What are your guys' favorite 1 or 2 MSU sporting events you've seen and attended in person?
I've got a couple. I've got a couple good ones. Wisconsin, 2011, Russell Wilson, Keith Nichols in the end zone, grabbing. I was there at the top of the east or the south end zone. Because you couldn't really see if he got in, right? Because they looked at the replay and you're like, well, is that ball across the line? It's a bad angle. And then when the ref did it's good, and then everybody went nuts. That is the loudest I've ever heard Spartan Stadium still. Wow. And I was there for Little Giants, right? I think that moment was like, oh my God. And then I'll never forget. Ran out of the stadium, ran all the way back to the lodges, got ready, and got right back to Rick's. Ran all the way to Rick's. It's like a 5-mile. It was like a 5K to get ready to hit Rick's all-time night.
That's a trek.
That's awesome.
That was an absolute trek. Just sweating, like I gotta get there.
That's awesome. That's awesome, Brett.
It's got to be the Kenneth Walker game last year. I think it wasn't just that game. I think it was because both teams had a bye before. So it's 2 weeks of building up 2 undefeated teams, the highest ranked matchup we've ever had. And we come out and we dominate that game. The scoreboard might have looked like we were down for a little bit. As I think Socrates once said, they had us in the first half. And we bounced back, deep water time, and then I think it was David Harns who had the video. It was like a 15-minute video, just following kind of Coach Tucker and some of the things happening on the field, and being able to see that perspective afterwards. That was a lot of fun. And I'll give an honorable mention to actually a game this year when we got to see Katenhauser take his first snaps in an MSU uniform.
Shout out!
That's an historic moment. That will go down in the record books.
I guess
it was a dime too.
It was, and then there was a scramble there too. Shades of Mike Vick on that one.
Wheels.
So for me, honestly, this answer is, I don't think anyone will really say this as an answer, but that rain out lightning game against Penn State when Saquon Barkley was there and Penn State was ranked top 15 and I don't think Michigan State was ranked, and so we saw like the first, I want to say like 2.5 quarters, maybe I'm way off, maybe it was 1 quarter, I don't really remember, and then suddenly the lightning came. And first of all, we're waiting there for like 30 minutes and we're just getting drenched, and they're like, no, you got to leave the stadium over the loudspeaker, but nobody's coming and telling us we got to leave. So we're just standing in the student section and not wanting to leave our seats because we were like in the 18th row out of like 100, and we're like pretty good. Then finally the police come, like, no, you have to leave. Then we get to dry off in our dorms, ran back to Wilson Hall, got some hand warmers, some leg warmers, got on like new clothes, quadruple layered, dried the old ones, came back 2.5 hours later. Nobody's there. We got first row right behind Saquon Barkley, just screaming at him the whole time about how he's going to lose the Heisman now. And Coughlin makes that kick. And it's like you got to see like a little, like a low attendance, intimate practice. Right around the railing, all around the stadium. And once again, that was that era where Michigan State used to beat that ranked Penn State team every year, every other year type of thing.
Like, those weather games are always great. Even the Penn State game last year where it was like a blizzard. That was so much fun. I mean, people are pelting.
Real football weather.
Yeah, people are pelting James Franklin with snowballs. Which
come to MSU if you want to play real football.
Yes.
I cannot wait to see what Lincoln Riley and Chip Kelly and those guys' teams look like. You walk into East Lansing, into Madison. You walk into Brett Bielema's Urbana-Champaign. Yes. I don't see these guys being able to score points consistently in road games in October and November in the Big Ten.
No, and honestly, like, just to go on a quick tangent, that would be one of my biggest recruiting pitches. It's like, if you want to play in the NFL, you can't just hide in the South. You can't hide in the desert. You can't hide in LA. You got to go play in the elements. And we see Kansas City, Cincinnati. I mean, I could go on forever. Buffalo, Philadelphia,
Philly,
Green Bay, Chicago. I mean, I could list off all the open air stadiums, but you're going to have to play there. So why not come to beautiful East Lansing? I mean, even during the snow game, there was beams of light. The sun was shining down on us, and it's just always beautiful. I mean, the red cedar's flowing. It's like the fountain of youth. So why not come to East Lansing?
Tangent off of that tangent. What's the worst MSU experience you've ever had at a game? Any game. And you can answer this. Open to the floor.
So when I was a student there, I always was skipping that last game of the year in football in November. That was Rutgers or Maryland. So that probably would have been my answer.
Okay.
But those were the only football games I ever skipped in my whole time at MSU. Was the last game of the year against Rutgers or Maryland.
Okay.
So that is not on the docket, unfortunately. One thing that kind of comes close, I mean, it was so fun for the most part, but that Michigan State Duke basketball game at the Breslin where Vernon Carey came in and scored 25, 28 points, that was just so deflating. And like, you got riled up that whole day. You're like, finally, Duke decided to not be scared. They finally are playing a non-neutral game.
We were talking so much shit.
Right. And the student section was kind of underwhelming too. Like, I would have thought like everyone would be booing Vernon Carey like from the moment he stepped out, but like 90% of the people didn't know the story, I guess. So first I'm there just like just irritated that like Vernon Carey is like not getting treated like with hostility. Then he's just going off without any sort dude. Just dunking all over people with no regard for human life. So I'm pretty sure I'm probably missing like a football game that was just really irritating. Oh no, I got an answer.
Okay.
It was the day that I knew the Mark D'Antonio era was over.
Oh,
Arizona State.
I know. I knew you were going to say it.
Oh, the Illinois game.
I knew you were going to say it.
I have never heard Spartan Stadium so quiet on a walkout. Like, usually if there's a loss, people are screaming or people are doing this. It was just shell shock. People knew it was over.
It was like almost seeing like your family dog die.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like.
Yep.
Yeah, people were just looking at the ground, walking out.
You knew the moment had come.
Yeah. I got to call the vet.
I call the vet, honey. It's time.
What
Kids
about
are
you
crying.
guys?
Minnesota this year.
Oh, okay.
That's the first and only time I've left the game early. I can't even talk about it. It's almost like me talking about a former GM who used to work for the Pistons, whose name
your favorite, Stan Van.
I'm just.
Can't get you on it. we're gonna cut this part.
Listen, the SD4L show will end if I continue. So. No, it was Minnesota this year.
Yeah,
that's a good one. I didn't think about that. I was only counting the ones where I was there in the capacity of like a fan.
Well, when we lose a 50-year-old
Tanner
quarterback and a guy with one leg,
awful. That's a good one.
For me, for sure, I'm gonna say it. 2012 MSU Iowa rain. Overtime. You remember that game? You guys
remember that game?
I do not.
You don't remember that game?
I don't remember that one, no.
Oh my god. It was just a classic, like, Ferentz drag them out. We couldn't score the ball. Maxwell was QB.
Okay.
We just couldn't connect on any passes. Right. I think at overtime, at the end of regulation, it was like 9-9 or like 12-12 or something
football.
like that.
Real
football.
Yeah.
And we're staying throughout this game, and it's just pouring throughout like the second half. It's just awful conditions, and you want to see your team kind of gut it out.
Right.
And then we end up losing in overtime on a field goal or something like that.
Yeah.
That was the worst experience as an MSU fan in a stadium I've ever had.
Doesn't sound like fun.
Oh my God. No, thank you.
Yeah. I guess shifting to a more positive off-topic discussion. Favorite meal in East Lansing? Ooh. What are you guys choosing if you're going to East Lansing this weekend, for example?
If I'm going right now,
yeah,
all I've had is a Gatorade Zero. I've had a Celsius drink. They're now sponsoring Michigan State football, so shout out to Celsius. I would probably pick Eastside Fish Fry. I know Justin's gonna agree with this. It's the best. If you haven't had it, you got to go to Eastside. They always hook it up. But if let's say I've gone out, I've had a couple drinks or whatever, then you start getting to that Conrad's range. That's always a good one. I mean, Wings Over's gone now. That was always a good one.
That's very unfortunate.
R.I.P. Obviously, you go to Pizza House, but yeah, I would say, I would probably go Eastside.
What about you, Peach?
Well, it depends on what state I'm in.
Okay.
So if I'm inebriated, you can't mess up with the classic Panera's and Okemos.
Did you say Panera?
Panera and Okemos.
Like a Panera bread?
Panera bread and Okemos when I'm wasted.
Tweet about that yesterday.
Are you kidding me? I just tweeted yesterday how they're the biggest scam in America.
Cut that. No,
why are you eating Panera bread if you're going to East Lansing?
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I had to get a rise out of Justin.
Did I hear him correctly?
I had to get a rise out of Justin. No, Stagger Home Special Cottage Inn. They had that little alleyway from Rick's that you could take directly back. I live right on Collingwood. Little $5 special. You could not beat it. I miss it dearly. That's my shop. Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great one.
Yeah, that's a good one. I agree, Brett. I think Eastside is up there. Basically, the last 10 times or so I've gone to East Lansing, I've had two places. Just recycled, repeated. It was Eastside, it was Barrio. And from Barrio, I mean, you have to, it's basically Scantron shit and you choose what ingredients you want. So if you mess it up, it's because you literally don't know what you're doing. But if you're asking me for suggestions, you get the spice rub chicken. You get it in a bombshell. So that's the hard shell, the soft shell, and bacon. So you get the bombshell with spice rub chicken in it, and you have to get the crack sauce. Whatever else you want, whatever kind of cheese you want, whatever kind of lettuce toppings you want, that's up to you. But it has to be those three key components. And I don't think there's a better meal in East Lansing than that order from Barrio and probably the 5-piece Cajun dinner from Eastside Fish Fry.
And I do got to give a shout out to my friends. I won't name you, but they're able to find the best food in Lansing, East Lansing. So I got to give a shout out. Soup Spoon Kitchen. That place is amazing.
Yep.
So my friend, I know they're watching. They know all the spots.
Yep.
So if you ever need something, I'll give it to you on the low. No free publicity though.
I mean, we just gave free publicity to 4 restaurants.
But everybody knows
haven't
about
given
those.
us a penny. That's true.
Panera, I need the NIL deal. Panera, shot me out.
You're about to get some cold.
If you get a Panera NIL deal, I'm gonna find a way to get it breached. I will get it terminated.
Be like that Jalen Rashada deal.
Yeah. That's inexplicable to be
Soup
saying
and bread bowl,
Panera
dude.
4 times on this show.
What other restaurant can you eat the bowl?
We don't eat
It's a bread bowl. Sourdough bread bowl.
You understand? It's $11.86 with tax to get a chicken sandwich from Panera.
High quality meal.
You can get 3 sandwiches from Popeyes for that same quantity.
Listen, I grew up in Okemos. That's all we knew.
God, I feel bad for people in Okemos if all you knew was Panera bread.
You didn't have that when you went on your trip overseas?
To India? No, I had KFC and McDonald's in India. Did not have Panera bread, thankfully.
Do they have them out there?
I think, fortunately, that is one thing they have avoided there. So, shout out to India for having standards and not letting Panera bread come in.
Too bad.
Yeah.
Too bad.
Owen, I think we want to give Owen a shot. As always, he's the guy that knows all the sports at Michigan State, not just the main one or two. He's always broadcasting hockey, gymnastics, women's volleyball, wrestling, all the other sports at Michigan State. So this week's Owen's 365. Owen, take it away. What's going on at campus?
Oh, we got lots of stuff going on. It was a massive weekend for hockey. And I'm talking massive. You go into this weekend and the expectations for Michigan State were at least a split. Like, Big Ten hockey is incredibly hard to get a sweep, but that's exactly what they did. On Friday, they won 3-0. Dylan St. Cyr, against his former team, got a shutout, 3-0. That's the ultimate slap to the face right there. The guy that took his spot, Ryan Bishop, who ultimately, that's because Dylan St. Cyr transferred out. He was able to beat him twice. And then on Saturday, they won 3-2. They have their final home game on Friday versus Michigan. You got a packed Mount Ice Arena. It was absolutely electric this past 2 days for the weekend. And then gymnastics, once again, another big win. They continue to keep on winning. They beat Penn State. That final score was 197.45 to 195.475. That's their fourth highest program score ever. So they continue just to kick butt. But yeah, I mean, it's you have to come out Friday if you're a Michigan State fan. It is, I cannot stress enough, a massive game because you then on Saturday they go to LCA to play Michigan again. And then you have Wisconsin, and that's it. Then you got the Big Ten tournament, and then it's go time. If you're able to make the actual tournament for the NCAA, which they have not done in a fat minute. I don't know the exact date, but it's been a while.
Yeah, a fat minute. That's what we'll put on the graphic. Yeah, first Big Ten tournament in a fat minute, provided by Owen.
Well, you gotta win.
Yeah, this is true. Owen, appreciate all the content you always provide from around campus. And Owen, as you've said in the many times past, campus is vibrant right now. A lot of great sporting events happening, and Owen will have the latest every week, as he always does. Appreciate you, Owen.
Do you want some questions, too?
If you got questions right now, we'll take those. We'll wrap it up with some Super Bowl talk afterwards, and then sure.
All right. There's none I didn't see in the chat besides the fact that everyone's still trying to figure out that it is Chief is not me. People were thinking that it was me for whatever reason. They kept saying enter and Owen. I know they can't hear me, but my biggest question I want to know from the two guys, or I guess you as well, Justin, besides Rick's, because now Rick's is basically irrelevant. Obviously, It was massive when all of you guys went to school.
Well, you say that like we went to. I didn't. I just graduated 2 years ago. Don't make me sound like I'm 40.
I mean, it's changed ever since. Have you heard the story of why it changed?
Rick's? No, I haven't heard the story of why it's irrelevant ever since we graduated many moons ago, as you put it.
So basically,
oh boy.
Well, basically, from what I heard, this girl fell down. She's really drunk, and she was coming in, the stairs. She fell down them, and she, cracked her head open or some crap like that. And they basically, the cops came. They got everybody, all of their fakes and stuff like that. And ever since then, Rick's has really lost business, so it's, always dead there. There's never one. I've not seen a Rick's line since my beginning of sophomore year before that happened.
Interesting. I was not aware of this downfall of Rick's.
Yeah.
So the question is, what are our favorite places other than Rick's on campus?
Yes. Well,
okay.
Yeah, because I could name you a bunch, but now I feel like Rick's was the place, and now it's just there's so many different places you can go to.
So I'll answer first. The question is, if you didn't hear, favorite place on campus. Now that Rick's is irrelevant ever since we graduated from there, which makes it seem like we graduated 30 years ago.
Jesus.
Anyway, my answer is obviously Fieldhouse. I know when we hung out over there after the spring game last year, us three went to Fieldhouse, and decent fries, above average chicken tenders or chicken wings. Just probably the best music, even though I know it depends on the DJ that's there that day, and that's probably my answer. What about you guys?
I mean, I always loved Harper's, but I don't know, since we graduated 50 years ago,
that's true.
Maybe Harper's
is it even around?
It is, because I remember for the game last year against the school down the road, that line was going down to the 7-Eleven. So there was definitely...
Good to see there's one piece of remaining history that's not been relegated to the time capsule.
That's not a statue now.
Yeah.
Yes, I would say I always enjoyed Harper's. I can't not show love to Rick's. Rick's is a staple. STR.
No matter
Evidently,
what.
it's not a staple, but
Listen, they're missing out.
How many bars in East Lansing has Tiger Woods been to?
oh, that's a good point.
In the Stanley Cup.
How
And
long ago
the
was
Stanley
that?
Cup.
Listen, that's history.
You can't mess around with Rick's.
I like Dublin too.
Blue House is good because they have slightly better than above average fries.
See, that's how you know Justin likes a place.
Based on the fries, man, it's unbelievable. For me, I heard really good things about the Land Shark. I
Okay.
haven't been to the Land Shark. I guess the guy put a ton of money into it.
Okay.
I would love to go there, check that out. Hopefully, some like senior night, so you head up there in March. God, another one I like to hang out at. I like PT's was always solid to me.
Okay.
It was just kind of like that, like reliable friend you always had. No matter what, you could give him a call and he'd come pick you up.
Never
Like,
been
it was
there.
all PT O'Malley's.
yeah, never been there.
It's very good.
Is it?
Dude, it's
It is good.
Okay. Oh, and is it still good or is it torn down?
Yeah.
Okay.
I love it.
Jeez,
Sounds good.
Pete.
Acting like his feet.
God.
Yeah. So Owen, was that the only like question that there was?
Well, I mean, my other question, I'll ask
Yeah.
this one. What's the go-to drink, or what used to be the go-to drink, I guess, at Rick's or whatever? Because now,
I'll delegate that to Peach. Peach, what was the go-to drink at Rick's? If there was
The
one?
go-to drink at Rick's, man, they had these Tuesday night half off. They had $1 Washington apple shots.
Okay.
Okay. Obviously, you're in college. You have $10 maybe to spend on a given night. You got to use it wisely. Right?
Very wisely.
So these Washington apple shots, I swear to God, I don't even know what liquor was in them. I don't want to know. It was a candy apple flavored, super thick, syrupy, and you could get obviously around a 10 of them for like $10, right? So Tuesday nights, that was the go-to. Now, if I'm actually like trying to get a real drink, it's probably back in the day, tequila something, whatever it is. I'm putting tequila in it, and then I'm just drinking it. I'm probably ripping a shot with it. That was my go-to.
Brett, any add-ons?
Long Island pitchers.
Okay.
They're like $5.
that's a good one.
They would have deals, and I mean, you put down one, and you're feeling good. Obviously, once you're 21, you would do that. Anything before, it's a no-go, of course.
Oh, I see.
But,
I see.
yeah, I would say that was always the go-to.
You got the rubber stamp from the youthful member of the delegation here who actually goes out and experiences these things, as we would know.
What is his drink order? I want to know what he gets.
Long Island?
Owen, what are you putting the stamp on?
Seltzer.
Honestly, a Long Island's really good. I would agree with.
He goes with the Long Island that you said.
You can't go wrong.
Jeez.
I would say the
It's
best
good.
Long Island there, or the best you're going to get your money's worth, is the Graduate Hotel Roof Bar. I think I got through like half a cup. I was
Yep.
good.
Oh, and is that it? No one's asking us questions about revealing Chief's identity or anything? Just not even giving it a Hail Mary shot?
Not really, no. Nobody's
Well,
really
we were
giving
going
anything.
to, but now we're not going to just because nobody bothered to ask.
Owen's
Are
glowing
you
tonight, by
actually?
the
Is
way.
he actually
If
doing
someone
it?
was going to be like, can Chief pull off the mask? We would have been like, yes, and we would have taken off, but
can
nobody
check that.
asked.
Nobody asked. I can get
Yeah.
keep the anonymity.
That's a shame.
People
Well-
were just like, "Who is this guy?" And then someone was guessing me, so it is not me.
Okay,
I mean,
okay.
so that's it. My last question is, when y'all coming up, and when are we hitting the bars?
I think we are planning to come up for the senior night, their senior day. I think the game time
Yep.
is TBD.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That weekend should be a movie. Absolutely.
So
Isn't that
I
a
guess
Sunday?
Saturday, I believe.
Yep.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Matinee.
Yeah.
I'll be there for Indiana.
For Indiana.
Yeah, because they talk too much.
Is this
They
at
talk-
9
I see.
p.m.?
Indiana, I mean, they did it last year when they came here. They talked too much. We beat
Are
them.
you going to be talking back? Are you getting like lower level zone seats and just screaming back at them?
No,
No?
because I don't want to become a meme.
Oh, I
Like
see.
you see, like Spike Lee and everything, like Michael Jordan's
Oh, I
like
see.
saying something to him.
I see.
I'm not trying to get. We need all the help we can get controlling or kind of containing Trey Jackson Davis. So
Yeah.
he doesn't need me calling
Yeah.
him a bum or anything. But
I see. Makes sense.
no.
Well, Owen, if that's all that you have, we'll wrap it up with some
Super Bowl
talk.
Okay.
I'll let you guys talk first. What do you guys think is going to happen on Sunday?
Go Birds. Go Birds absolutely the whole way. I'm a Lions fan first and an Eagles fan second. They've been my team since Jeff Beagles back in the day. Shout out to Jeff Beagles, my guy, my Madden legend. Shout out to Jeff. Very few people know Jeff Beagles. I know you do.
Yeah. I don't think I ever saw him play, but the name definitely. Yeah.
Yeah, he didn't play a lot, but he's one of my favorite players. I think the Eagles are too good, man. I think a lot of people are thinking, well, the Chiefs have been there. They know what they're doing. I think Jalen Hurts is a winner. He's won at every single level growing up, you know, from a kid, high school, college, obviously. You know, NFL, he's starting to see that now. He took that step up from last year. I think the Eagles take it in a close one. I think the Chiefs obviously have a ton of weapons on offense. I think that defense is a little suspect.
Yeah, I agree. Brett?
Yeah, I'm fly, Eagles, fly. I'm going with the Birds. I think even seeing them week 1 against the Lions, kind of how they just came out and steamrolled us. We had a talk before the season started. You're like, Eagles are going to the Super Bowl. And I'm thinking, oh, it's just Justin. He's an Eagles fan. He's just saying this. Like he was right. Yeah. Like he usually is about this stuff. And I think they're just. I mean, have they lost a game with Hurts starting this year?
Just one. It was to Washington. So they're 17-1 with Jalen playing.
Yeah, the thing that bugs me about the Chiefs is that the fact that they're trying to make Pat Mahomes seem like this underdog story, like almost like he's Brock Purdy. Yeah, it doesn't work. And I think the Eagles, the pass rush is too good. BT Jordan really's got Hassan Reddick playing at a high level. He's got a ton of clout out there. I think that the clout difference is going to make all the difference in the world.
I see. Yeah, I agree with you guys. Personally, the lead up to this Super Bowl hasn't been as fun as 2017 because back then, like, they truly were underdogs. Their last 6 games of the year, they were underdogs. Every single week, it was just, hey, taking it week by week. If you get to play another week, you're just happy and you take it in stride. Now, the entire season, I felt, okay, this is the best roster in the NFL. All I feel is if they lose or stumble, disappointment, but I don't feel any joy when they win. So it's like champagne problems, and Lions fans are probably like, oh, you've seen more playoff wins this year than we have in 25 years. Stop complaining. But, I mean, the Eagles have played in 7 NFC title games in my lifetime now. The first 2 I don't remember. But for all of that, they so far have 1 Super Bowl. So it's kind of like you have to win that second Super Bowl or else you're just not going to feel complete. So that's kind of the platform of where I start to judge success from. I think this game, I think the Eagles have the advantage in 21 of 22 positions for the most part. Maybe 20 I would give Kelsey over Dallas Goedert as well. So it really is it going to be the team with a better quarterback or the better roster? And we'll find out. I think especially like the old saying is offensive and defensive line, you control the trenches, you win the game. Well, we'll see, because the Eagles' offensive and defensive lines are way better than the Chiefs.
Not even close.
So I think if I'm the Chiefs, I don't play a lot of man. I don't send man blitzes particularly. I would flood the right side of the pocket. I would have Jalen Hurts roll to the left in a zone blitz setting. He's much worse against a zone blitz rolling to his left than any other scenario he throws in, and I would just kill that to death and hope that I can build up a 14-point lead by the time that the Eagles figure that out. And that's probably the only game script I see them sort of winning in. Otherwise, the Eagles can run the ball, Eagles can throw the ball. And Jonathan Gainon's defense, I never truly trust them, but I think they can hold their own now that Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's back, Avonte Maddox is back. So that's really what I think. I think Eagles win this game by 8.
I think you get the Super Bowl a couple years ago with Tampa Bay and Kansas City, where Patrick Mahomes is running for his life, right? And like getting back to what you said, where it's like quarterback or roster, right? I mean, he's the best quarterback in the league. I will say Patrick Mahomes, far and away best QB in the league, not even close. That being said, like you saw the limitations of like he can create and do all these things out of the pocket, but like, you know, the receiver still got to step up. You saw a lot of missed drops and stuff like that. So I think the Eagles take it by more than 10. Yeah, I think. Brett, do you want to give a score prediction? I think you already put money down on the Eagles to win by quite a bit.
Well, hypothetically, I don't really sports gamble, but yeah, if I were a betting man, I would take the Eagles. I would bump it up to -9.5, and Justin here has promised to do a gritty on camera if the Eagles do win the Super Bowl.
I've not promised to do this. You
heard it. You heard it.
But no, I think the Eagles
practicing all week.
Yeah, I think that they have the better roster. Obviously, you have to give the huge edge to Andy Reid being the Chiefs coach, and obviously Pat Mahomes and Kelsey. I mean, those 3 of the greatest to ever do it. But ultimately, I think the Eagles are just a war machine.
How disappointing would it be if you're Andy Reid and Pat Mahomes and they close out this 5-year period where Pat Mahomes probably played pure talent-wise, better than any quarterback in a 5-year span, and you only close that out with 1 Super Bowl.
And you lose 2 of them?
Crazy.
Yeah, and then you lose in a couple of AFC title games as well.
That's malpractice. Absolute malpractice. Yeah.
Like, who does that come down to?
I mean,
it's almost like no, it's not Ohio State, but it's kind of similar. Where like just can't get.
I can't say totally Andy Reid. I would say GM as well, because like you have to surround Pat Mahomes with better talent than Mecole Hardman and some of these guys around him. But at the same time, though, like Andy went to countless NFC title games with the Eagles.
Yep.
Didn't win a Super Bowl there. Here he's won 1 so far. Has a chance to win 2. And he just has had elite quarterback play. And that should be the difference maker in winning more Super Bowls than this. I would say Andy Reid is underrated in terms of regular season coach in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs. But in the Super Bowl, like this is very disappointing.
It is what it is. Like your record is what it is.
Right.
Like at the end of the day, that's what's going into the Hall of Fame with you.
Yep.
Yeah, so I think there's a big opportunity for Andy and for Pat here, and as big of an opportunity for the Eagles to get a Super Bowl before Jalen Hurts' contract kicks in.
That's how you win in the league now.
Right. The whole key is while the quarterback's on the rookie deal, you got to snag that ring while you can.
Yep.
And we'll see.
And Rihanna, we get to see Rihanna. Listen, if I'm a player, I know Sirianni said that the player's going to be, he's going to lock him in the locker room, no tunnel, you're not going in the tunnel. But yeah, they're not going to be going out to sneak and see Rihanna, which I don't know if I were a player.
If you were a coach, you would allow that?
No, I'm just saying if I was a player and Rihanna's like 100 yards away.
You'd be there with the phone going like this, and
I'd be singing Umbrella.
I see.
Absolutely.
So,
I see.
I'm fired up about that.
I was willing to write you a letter of recommendation for like an analyst or an assistant coaching job, but if that's how seriously you take halftime adjustments, I'm sorry, Brett. The letter's ripped.
Listen, I'm okay with that. It's Rihanna.
I think that about does it.
I mean, I
give a couple shout outs real quick.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
the first one goes to Justin for extending with 247. He got the max. He got the max contract.
Our guy is back.
Congrats to him. He's the best insider around. So we definitely appreciate having him around and contributing. I mean, he brings all the excitement to recruiting and the message boards, even though they don't like me on there, which brings me a lot of joy. But yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Matt Ishbia for finalizing the purchase of the Phoenix Suns. It's Spartan Dog through and through.
Absolutely, our guy.
He's been on the show. Huge contributor to Michigan State. So yeah, and then. Those are really the shout-outs I wanted to give. So and we're going to listen. Michigan State football is going to win a national championship the next few years. Facts.
Yeah, you've been saying that since day one.
Within the next 3 years, we will be having a parade that will be going down Grand River. Sparty will be holding the national championship trophy.
We're going to manifest MSU football, MSU basketball dual parade.
Oh, can you imagine Cedar Village?
Yeah, absolutely.
I wonder what the police would do that day.
Oh, they got to call in the like the National Guard.
Yeah,
because
the Army.
So when I was there for the Duke Michigan State Final Four, or the Elite Eight to get to the Final Four, the police were ready. They were prepared. They had whatever the I don't know if it's tear gas or just random smoke gas, but like they were ready. They were prepared, and that fire still went on for a solid 25 minutes. So I don't think they're going to be equipped for that sort of a scenario.
No. Even when we won last year against the school down the road, you had that one picture of the kids on the couch with the couch is on fire.
Yeah.
That's one of my.
Shout out to those kids. Shout out to whoever those kids are.
Oh, the kids
That's the vibe.
If they're watching or somehow somebody knows them,
they're probably in jail still from making that happen.
I need those kids. I need those kids on the show.
Absolutely. I'll call up the Ingham County prosecutor. We'll get you out in no time.
Yeah. Absolutely.
If things work like they do in Washington.
Yeah, I was gonna say. Hopefully he got. Never mind.
We're not going down that path.
Yeah, we don't.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need a defamation suit here.
No, I want that picture of them. I want them to sign it.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that about does it for this week's episode of the SD4L show. These guys, if you don't already know, at Peach James with I believe an underscore.
Yep.
And then at Odell Brettum Jr.
Yep.
He is Odell Beckham Jr.'s cousin. So that is where the name comes. No, I'm just kidding.
Cat's out of the bag.
Could be.
But yeah, so follow these guys there at that platform. I had a lot of fun just chatting about all these random topics today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well, and we'll be back next week. And this was the SD4L show.
Yes, sir. Keep chopping. Absolutely.
Keep chopping.